Police say the guards saw two men in masks with guns approach the victim, who was parked in the parking lot around 3 o'clock.
Can y'all elaborate on Dice game when it's tied to y'all?
I know people were associating me with that Duke the Jeweler situation because I went to Labusi pool party and he happened to be there and he happened to be standing on me. I mean, right next to me. The truth is, I never met him before. I had no idea who he is.
Why you think they Duke the Jeweler? They really couldn't get him. That's why they had to come on, homie. If you coming in to check in and you got to stay with this group and they taking you around, they ain't taking you around and introduce you to people. They taking you around so everybody get a piece of you.
Something about this whole situation coming out of Houston has people doing double takes right now. The names, the timing, the alleged setup, none of it feels random. What's being whispered behind closed doors is way heavier than a regular street rumor. And once you hear how this story allegedly unfolded, it starts sounding like a straight-up movie plot. At the center of it all is J. Prince Jr., who has been allegedly linked to an ongoing investigation connected to what happened to Duke the Jeweler after a high-stakes dice game went completely sideways. According to claims floating around, what started as a money play allegedly turned into something far darker, and Duke never made it back out the way he walked in. The details are wild, and the deeper you go, the more calculated it all starts to look. Before breaking down Duke's situation, it's important to understand exactly who J. Prince Jr. is and why his name carries so much weight in Houston. He's the son of J. Prince Sr., the man who built Rap-A-Lot Records and earned respect for moving smart, protecting artists, and keeping business clean. But here's where things allegedly take a sharp left. People say J. Prince Jr. moved nothing like his father. Instead of building something solid, critics claim J. Prince Jr. allegedly used the family name as leverage to get close to wealthy outsiders coming through the city. The crazy part is, this isn't someone who came from struggle or survival. He reportedly grew up in private schools, good neighborhoods, and with real resources around him. Yet according to multiple claims, he allegedly wanted to be viewed as a street figure, even though that image didn't match his real upbringing. That's where the alleged dice operation comes into play, because this wasn't some random game happening once in a while. People familiar with the situation say this setup had been running quietly in Houston for years.
Maybe we need to change the word for the youngsters. The checking in part, is they seem to get hung up on that word checking in.
Yeah.
So if we could diversify that word and bring it up to a 2021 thing.
Right. What's the word, OG? What's the word?
Maybe we may want to tell them they need to get connected.
You know
what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the proper word, connected, properly connected, or whatnot.
Yeah, they get tripped up on the semantics.
Yeah, they get stuck. I mean, right there you stuck. So then you stuck on stupid, right? You're stuck on stupid, and you're not using your powers. Access to powers that you have, you're looking at it as a negative versus a positive. We all know if you can tap into good people wherever you go.
Wherever. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a blessing, Rip.
Real talk.
Real talk.
J. Prince Jr. was allegedly working with a small inner circle, including Lil Cam, Wolf, and Big Caprice, who were said to know exactly how to run the game without drawing attention. According to these claims, the first step was always targeting. Successful rappers, athletes, jewelers, and business figures passing through Houston were allegedly watched closely. Social media pages were studied, jewelry was clocked, cars were noted, and spending habits were analyzed. The goal was simple: figure out who had money and who liked to show it. Once a target was identified, J. Prince Jr. would allegedly step in with the welcome home energy. He'd offer hospitality, talk legacy, and reference his family name to make people feel comfortable. The move was smooth: expensive dinners, VIP sections, exclusive locations, and introductions to local names that made everything feel official. By the time the night ended, the target allegedly felt like they were surrounded by real allies. That's when the dice game would allegedly come up. Not forced, not rushed, just casually suggested. The early rounds were said to be clean, with regular dice and light bets, letting the guest win a little and build confidence. Everything felt friendly, competitive, and under control. But according to insiders, that's when the switch allegedly happened. The dice would allegedly be swapped for loaded ones, and the pattern would change. The crew would start rotating turns in a calculated way, keeping wind circulating between themselves while letting the guest hit just enough to stay locked in. Over time, the losses would pile up, and by the time the target realized something was off, they were already deep in the hole. That brings the story to Duke the Jeweler, who was far from inexperienced or reckless. Duke was a respected figure in the hip-hop jewelry world, known for his connections, his grind, and the lifestyle that came with it. According to claims, that visibility is exactly what put him on the radar. When Duke arrived in Houston, sources say he got the full red carpet treatment. J. Prince Jr. allegedly showed him around personally, brought him into elite spaces, and made him feel like he was among trusted people. Duke reportedly believed the bond was real, not knowing he was allegedly walking straight into a setup. After a night of partying and bonding, the dice game was allegedly suggested. Duke was said to be relaxed, confident, and ready to play, unaware that the situation was about to turn on him in a way no one expected. Duke allegedly believed this was all part of the Houston experience. The lights, the nightlife, the late hours, and the energy that comes with being welcomed by powerful people. To him, the dice game wasn't a trap. It was just another stop in what felt like a legendary night. But according to claims surrounding this case, that's exactly where everything went left in a way nobody planned for. Here's where the story allegedly spirals out of control in the worst way possible. During the dice game, sources say someone in J. Prince Jr.'s circle allegedly made a massive mistake. Instead of keeping the loaded dice rotating only between the crew, they were allegedly passed to Duke by accident. In a rigged setup, that kind of slip-up isn't small, it's catastrophic. Once Duke had the loaded dice in his hands, the entire game flipped. According to claims, he started winning big, not pocket change, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. The same dice that were allegedly meant to guarantee losses for the guests were now working in Duke's favor, and the crew could only sit there and watch it happen in real time.
Can y'all elaborate on dice game when it's tied to y'all?
I know people were associating me with that Duke the Jeweler situation because I went to LaBusa pool party and he happened to be there and he happened to be standing on me. I mean, right next to me. The truth is, I never met him before. I had no idea who he is. I didn't even know he was a jeweler until after his passing. And then the night of that game isn't the night that he got killed. He got killed leaving Boosie concert the next night because somebody tried to rob him. So, you know, the internet play internet games. But this is a situation with a dude that I didn't even know. I ain't know his name. I had no knowledge of him. I ain't know he was from Chicago. I ain't know he was a jeweler until social media started trying to point a finger because he was standing next to me, and it's just unfortunate that something transpired after another dice game, but neither incidents had anything to do with a dice.
That's when the situation allegedly became impossible to control. The crew couldn't call Duke out without exposing themselves. They couldn't accuse him of cheating because the dice weren't his. They couldn't shut the game down without raising alarms. Their own system boxed them in, and every roll Duke won allegedly made things worse. Meanwhile, Duke had no clue anything was off. From his perspective, he was just having the night of his life. He thought luck was finally on his side, and that his new Houston connections were celebrating right along with him. The energy was high, the wins kept coming, and Duke allegedly believed everything was happening fair and square. But according to insiders, that mood didn't match what was happening behind the scenes. As Duke kept winning, the alleged tension in the room reportedly grew thick. This wasn't how the operation was supposed to go. Those dice were meant to drain him, not reward him. The loss of that kind of money allegedly sent panic through the crew. Here's where things reportedly took a darker turn. Allowing Duke to walk away wasn't just about losing cash, it allegedly threatened the entire operation. If word got out that the dice setup could fail, the whole system would collapse. According to claims, that's when the focus allegedly shifted from damage control to silence. Sources suggest the crew allegedly needed two things: the money back and assurance that Duke wouldn't talk. That's when a new plan was reportedly put together, and it wasn't rushed or sloppy. It was calculated, quiet, and disguised as something harmless. Duke was allegedly invited to a nearby concert as a way to keep the night going. From Duke's point of view, this sounded like a celebration. He thought they were honoring his big win, extending the hospitality, and keeping the vibes alive. There was no reason for him to suspect anything else. According to claims, he showed up in a great mood, enjoying the attention and the moment. At the event, Duke was reportedly relaxed and confident. He had his jewelry on, designer bags with him, and the cash he'd won earlier that night. Witnesses say he looked carefree, like someone who felt completely safe in his surroundings. What he didn't know, according to claims, was that his movements were allegedly being watched closely. The concert allegedly gave the crew time to track Duke's habits, timing, and when he'd be isolated. This wasn't spontaneous, it was reportedly strategic. The environment made everything look normal, loud, and crowded, which helped hide whatever was being planned behind the scenes. After the show ended, Duke reportedly headed toward his vehicle alone. According to allegations, that's when the situation finally exploded. Multiple individuals allegedly approached him in the parking area, demanding the return of the dice money. Duke, believing he won fairly, reportedly refused to give it up. That refusal allegedly changed everything. Sources say Duke standing his ground is what sealed the outcome of that night. Once he resisted, the situation escalated beyond recovery. According to investigators, Duke was confronted violently and was fatally ended in that parking lot. What makes this part especially alarming, according to claims, is what wasn't taken. Duke reportedly still had on all his jewelry, chains, watches, rings, worth massive amounts of money. The only thing missing was the cash from the dice game. To many observers, that detail allegedly points to motive, not randomness. According to ongoing investigations, this wasn't just about theft. It was about control, silence, and protecting a system that allegedly went wrong at the worst possible time. And that's the part of this story that continues to raise questions no one has been able to shake. According to claims surrounding this case, what happened to Duke wasn't a random situation that spun out of control. Many observers say this was allegedly targeted from the start, designed to recover specific money and permanently silence someone who saw too much. Duke didn't lose his life because of bad luck. He allegedly lost his life because he won money that was never meant to be won in the first place.
Get into Larry, yeah, when I embrace a Larry Hoover, against them telling me, with their threats, oh, if you put this out, this gonna happen, this gonna happen, this gonna happen. And then I said, well, fuck it, let it happen. Because it's true that he done told me I want all my brothers and sisters to hear this truth. You know what I mean? Some truths, believe it or not, are worth dying for, or whatever the consequences may be. That's the way I feel about it.
That's right.
And when you
like the liars gotta be.
Yeah, but they don't like niggas that think like that. And all of their life, they wanted to destroy them kind.
That's right.
So I understand what come with it. You know what I mean? I understand. As I sit here,
when you make it, as long as you sell out to them, they can control you. When they can't control you, they can have a situation.
I understand as I sit here right now, every word coming out of my mouth, right? I understand that I'm a target.
Sources close to the investigation suggest Duke's situation became dangerous the moment that rigged system failed. The alleged operation couldn't afford exposure. And once Duke walked away with proof that the game could be beaten, the risk level skyrocketed. People watching this unfold say it wasn't about ego in that moment. It was about protecting an entire setup built on deception. And as disturbing as that sounds, Duke reportedly wasn't the only person pulled into this alleged cycle. The most high-profile situation tied to these claims involves someone the culture still mourns. Takeoff from Migos. What happened that night in Houston sent shockwaves everywhere, and many believe it exposed just how dangerous these situations had become. According to multiple accounts, Quavo and Takeoff reportedly received the same warm treatment others had described before. The hospitality, the friendly energy, the sense of respect, everything felt familiar and welcoming. But this time, the stakes were much higher, and the money involved was on a completely different level. Sources say the dice game that night was bigger than usual. This wasn't casual betting. This was serious money on the table. The kind of amounts that can flip emotions fast and turn tension up in seconds. At first, things reportedly looked normal, but as the game continued, Quavo allegedly began losing large sums in a short period of time. According to claims, the losses weren't minor either. We're talking well into six figures, disappearing fast, and that's when something reportedly clicked. Quavo isn't new to money, competition, or high-pressure environments. People say he immediately noticed the same pattern repeating, the same players winning, the same dice rotation, the same outcomes over and over. Lil Cam, Wolf, and Big Caprice allegedly stayed in control of the dice, passing them between each other in a way that looked familiar to anyone who understands how rigged games operate. According to witnesses, Quavo eventually stopped ignoring what was right in front of him. The numbers didn't add up and the situation didn't feel clean. That's when things reportedly got heated. Quavo allegedly began questioning the game openly, calling out what he believed was happening. The mood shifted fast, voices raised, tension thickened, and attempts were made to calm things down without actually addressing the accusations. But at that point, too much money had already been lost. In the confusion that followed, everything reportedly spiraled. According to official records, shots were fired during the chaos. Takeoff, who was not part of the argument and wasn't involved in the dispute, was tragically struck and lost his life. That single moment changed everything and brought national attention to what had been happening quietly for years. Later developments only fueled more questions. Lil Cam was eventually taken into custody in connection with what happened to Takeoff, a detail many observers say isn't random. To some, it strengthened the belief that these events weren't isolated incidents, but part of a repeated pattern tied to the same inner circle. As attention intensified, sources say J. Prince Jr. allegedly shifted into damage control mode. Interviews surfaced, statements were made, and narratives were carefully shaped.
I stayed with Quavo. We stayed out there probably like 2 or 3 hours together before we all parted ways and made sure each other was cool. Like, me and him stayed out there. Like, one other person pulled up, but it was me and him that stayed out there for hours after this transpired, so.
But critics point out that his tone, body language, and refusal to directly address certain allegations spoke louder than the words themselves. To this day, many feel the full story hasn't been laid out in the open. What started as whispers has grown into serious questions about power, greed, and how far some people will allegedly go to protect a system once it starts cracking. Now here's where the situation takes a turn that nobody saw coming, because the claims that surfaced next completely flipped the narrative. According to WAC 100, there's a possibility that J. Prince Jr. may have been quietly cooperating with federal authorities long before everything hit the public eye. If true, this would explain a lot of unanswered questions that people have been asking for years. WAC 100 has publicly stated that he allegedly overheard a phone conversation involving J. Prince Jr. where specific numbers were mentioned, roughly 80 to 100 people, in a way that suggested advanced awareness of upcoming law enforcement activity. What made this claim even more shocking was what reportedly happened next. According to WAC, the very next day, federal agents conducted wide-scale sweeps across Houston, and the number of individuals taken into custody allegedly matched that same range. To many observers, that coincidence raised serious eyebrows. If these claims hold weight, it suggests J. Prince Jr. may not have just been operating in the streets. He may have been feeding information upward the entire time. That possibility changes the entire picture. Instead of just being tied to alleged illegal activity, J. Prince Jr. would be positioned as someone using street access to gather intelligence. And to critics, that would explain how he's managed to stay untouched while people around him continue to fall. Look at what's happened so far. Multiple individuals connected to the dice game situation have been taken in by authorities. Lil Cam is now facing fatal outcome-related charges, while other associates have reportedly been picked up on a range of serious accusations. The operation that once moved quietly is now being peeled apart layer by layer. Yet through all of this, J. Prince Jr. remains free, visible, and seemingly unbothered. That level of calm in the middle of a federal investigation doesn't sit right with a lot of people. To many watching closely, that confidence suggests protection, not luck. And the ripple effects of this situation go way beyond one person or one city. Houston, once celebrated as one of the most welcoming stops in the South, has reportedly developed a reputation artists now approach with caution. Promoters have openly struggled to book talent, and behind the scenes, many artists are choosing to skip the city entirely. The reason is simple: trust has been damaged. What used to feel like hospitality now feels like a setup to some. When someone offers to show an artist around, there's hesitation instead of appreciation. When a dice game gets mentioned, it triggers concern instead of excitement. The culture shifted, and it didn't happen by accident. What makes these allegations especially heavy is how deeply they clash with the values hip-hop was built on. Hip-hop has always been about survival, community, and lifting each other out of tough circumstances. It's about protection, not predation. According to critics, J. Prince Jr. allegedly flipped those expectations and used them as tools. This wasn't someone lacking opportunity or resources. He had a legendary family name, built-in respect, and industry access most people could only dream of. Instead of using that position to uplift others, he's accused of exploiting it for personal gain at the expense of lives, careers, and trust. That contrast is what leaves so many people stunned. When someone with every advantage chooses greed over responsibility, the damage cuts deeper. It doesn't just hurt individuals, it reshapes entire communities and changes how people move forever. So what lessons come out of all this, according to those watching closely? First, legacy alone doesn't equal trust. A famous last name or powerful connections shouldn't override common sense. Every individual has to prove who they are through actions, not ancestry. Second, artists need stronger protection when traveling. That means verified local contacts, better education about common scams, and real support systems instead of relying on word-of-mouth hospitality. Awareness is no longer optional, it's survival. And finally, if something feels off, listen to that instinct. No amount of money, status, or temporary friendship is worth putting yourself in a dangerous position. Walking away early can save more than just your wallet. It can save your future. One of the hardest lessons to take away from this entire situation is that danger doesn't always come from strangers lurking in the shadows. Sometimes it comes dressed as familiarity, a friendly face, a respected name, or someone offering hospitality with a smile. The people who can cause the most damage aren't always outsiders. They're often the ones you're encouraged to trust without question. Most people think protection is about physical security, guards, gates, and staying alert in public spaces. But what this story highlights is something deeper. Psychological manipulation can be just as dangerous because once someone has your trust, they don't need force to control the situation. That's how people end up walking straight into environments they never would have entered otherwise. And at its core, this story isn't really about dice games, nightlife, or flashy lifestyles. It's about trust being corrupted, culture being flipped against itself, and what allegedly happens when greed goes completely unchecked. When respect becomes leverage and hospitality turns into a setup, the consequences don't stop at money. Now it's important to say this clearly and responsibly. Everything discussed in this video is based on allegations, public speculation, and commentary from figures like WAC 100. No final legal conclusions have been reached and investigations are still ongoing. We don't yet have every answer, and some details may change as more information comes out. What is confirmed, however, is that federal authorities are actively looking into J. Prince Jr. and the broader situation. Multiple arrests have already taken place, and sources suggest more developments could surface as the case unfolds. When federal attention locks in like this, it usually means the story is far from finished. The damage left behind is undeniable. Duke the Jeweler is no longer here, and Takeoff was tragically lost as well. Multiple families are grieving, careers were shaken, and an entire city's reputation has taken a serious hit. Whether intentional or indirect, the fallout has been massive. And that's why stories like this matter, not for entertainment alone, but as cautionary examples. Fame, money, and connections don't come with automatic safety. The higher you climb, the more people may see you as a target rather than a peer. The takeaway here isn't paranoia, it's awareness. Verify people before trusting them. Pay attention to patterns, pressure, and situations that feel rushed or too good to be true. Walking away early can save more than pride or money. It can protect your future. Now, if this breakdown gave you new perspective or helped connect dots you hadn't considered before, make sure you hit that like button so more people can see this story. Subscribe to the channel if you want more deep dives into celebrity controversies, industry secrets, and stories that don't always get told the right way. Also, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, especially artists, creatives, or anyone moving in high-pressure environments. Awareness spreads protection. And before you go, don't stop here. Check out the next video popping up on your screen for even more celebrity drama, hidden stories, and behind-the-scenes breakdowns you won't hear anywhere else. Trust me, you don't want to miss that one. I'll see you in the next video. Stay sharp, stay aware, and move smart out there.